Thailand is grappling with one of its deadliest school shootings in years after a 14-year-old student opened fire at a school in non-partisan province just outside Bangkok. Now, CCTV footage shows the teen boy firing at his classmates in non-partisan school on Friday. At least 5 school staff members, including teachers and administrators, were killed, while more than 30 people were injured. The teen later shot himself. But before going to the school, the teenager allegedly took he has also killed his grandparents, sparking shock across the country and renewing calls for tighter gun controls in Thailand.
Of course, everyone was saddened and shocked because it was unexpected that this would happen in Thailand. And also, it's quite a great loss. Although my sons don't attend this school, I still feel very sad.
According to authorities, the teenager used a handgun belonging to his grandfather. A large quantity of ammunition was reportedly found in his school bag, and police are investigating how the teenager gained access to the registered firearm. A fellow student described him as a troubled teenager who had faced bullying. Another student said the teenager appeared highly trained when he pointed the weapon at him. Investigators are continuing to examine his online activity, relationships, and events leading up to the shooting. Police are also investigating reports that the teenager had researched an American school shooting case on his computer. Thai Prime Minister Anuthin Charnvirakul said that investigators are examining whether academic pressure played a role. He said the teenager's grandparents were reportedly strict about his studies. Listen to this.
The police interrogated his close friend and found out that he was stressed and he was complaining. The actions showed that he had planned it before and he did everything in steps.
Prime Minister Anuthin also said the government will push for stronger implementation of firearms laws and stressed that civilians are not permitted to carry guns in public without authorization.
The gun law should clearly state that one person can only own one gun, and the bullets, how could the child get hold of that many rounds? It begs the question if there are more in the house. And how could there be that many rounds of bullets in a house? It was as if they were about to go to war. If one asks to own a gun for self-defense, how could they get hold of that much ammunition as if they were about to hail down on someone? Our law doesn't stipulate clearly how many bullets or boxes we can own.
The government is also focusing on the psychological impact of the attack. Thailand's Public Health Ministry has deployed mental health crisis teams to support students, families, and others affected by the shooting. Around 60 mental health workers across 16 teams have been reportedly mobilized. The school has suspended classes till August 14th, and staff has been instructed to work from home during the closure. And for more on this, we're now being joined by Phil Robertson, Director at Asia Human Rights and Labour Advocates from Bangkok, Thailand. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast, Mr. Robertson. Now, this is a deeply disturbing case, and particularly because we're talking about a 14-year-old who was able to access his grandfather's licensed handgun, kill his grandparents, and then he was able to take that weapon to school. We know that Thailand has the highest rate of civilian gun ownership in Southeast Asia, but having said that, from a human rights and public safety perspective, where do you see the biggest failure here?
Well, Thailand has existing gun laws. The problem is they're just not effectively enforced. There's 10 million registered guns in the country, in a country of 70 million people. There's probably another 4 million estimated unregistered, illegal firearms in the country. And it is just too easy for people to get a hold of guns. And in the case of this youngster, this 14-year-old, accessing it at his home, along with all the ammunition he took to school, there was no bag search. There was nothing that prevented him from bringing that gun into the school. It is just a failure after failure on basic oversight, laws, and regulation of this massive number of guns that are in private ownership in Thailand.
Right, and what is perhaps the hardest to comprehend here is that This was a 14-year-old who, according to his father, showed no obvious signs of violence. While authorities have pointed to academic stress and described the attack as pre-planned, how should we understand that gap between what a family may see as ordinary teenage distress and the kind of escalation that can precede extreme violence, as we're seeing in this case?
Well, I mean, I think that there is a very clearly something needs to be looked at in terms of what sort of stress he was under, how that played out. The fact that he gave no indication to his students or to his grandparents that he was under this kind of stress is worrisome. But the larger problem is still the fact that we have all these guns and that there's problems, issues connected to how they're stored, how they're bought and owned, whether they can be carried in public. All these things need to be addressed.
Right.
You know, how many more shootings are we going to have in Thailand before there's a serious discussion about gun control?
Absolutely, and Thailand has faced several major shootings in recent years, including the 2023 Bangkok mall shooting, which involved another 14-year-old. And the governments have repeatedly promised tighter gun controls, yet firearms continue to find their way in the hands of people who should not have access to them. What, in your view, has prevented these various reforms from addressing the problem at its root?
It has not become a political priority yet. I mean, we keep having these tragedies. The government says it's going to do something. You know, now we have Prime Minister Anutin saying that there's going to be revised laws and new action, and then it just goes away. You know, there's no follow through. It seems to me that the government is concerned about angering the many private gun owners, the gun collectors who have all these firearms, when in fact they should be thinking from a very different perspective, how to protect the public from these kind of incidents. There's just been too many of these incidents now for this to be, again, swept under the rug or pushed aside and forgotten.
Absolutely. Of course, we'll have to continue to track the situation closely. But for now, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast, Mr. Robertson, and sharing your perspective with us and our viewers.
Thank you.